Thank you. Hey, how are you all doing? So Jacob started talking about fintech, and I will continue along the fintech topic, and I'll talk you through my story as an entrepreneur and Transferwise. So I was born in the Soviet Union, just 80 kilometers south from here. And I grew up while Estonia regained independence and built a modern capitalist country. In 2002, I met Niklas and Janus. They had created something called Kazaa, which was creating lots of trouble in the music industry. And I thought that for sure they won't stop there. So I joined them, and pretty soon we started a new project called Skype. And then I became the first employee of Skype. It was an incredible journey building a company based on an idea on the back of a napkin to first few hundred million customers and first few hundred million in revenues. And that experience taught me a few things that I will keep with me forever. So first of all, always focus on the user. We had a motto in the early days in Skype, which was delight the user. And everything we did was based on that. Second thing, focus on the team. You need to build the best team. Your idea will change, or pivot, as they say now, but your core team will remain the same. And lastly, you can build a world-changing company anywhere. We built Skype in the outskirts of Tallinn in the old Soviet Institute of Cybernetics. You can build a company in Helsinki, in Timbuktu. You don't need to go to Silicon Valley. And I believe I was entrepreneurial already before Skype, but surely the Skype experience made the entrepreneurship virus spread throughout my body. And the story of Transferwise gets started while I was still at Skype. So while at Skype, I was initially working in Tallinn, and I moved to London at one point. And then I was still getting my salary paid in Estonia. So every month I went to the bank and I made a transfer from Estonia to London. And every month I went to the bank in London. I really had to go there because back then internet banking didn't really work in the UK. And I looked at the money I had received, and it was much less than I thought. This really puzzled me. I met Christo, who is now my co-founder at Transferwise, and he was living in London and transferring money to Estonia to pay for a mortgage. And similar to me, every month he made a payment, and he realized he's getting much less than he's expecting to. So we thought there must be a better way of doing it. What we did next month, I transferred money from my account in Estonia to his account in Estonia, and that's a local transfer, so it's free and fast. And he did the same in London. And boom, it worked really well. So pretty soon we had saved thousands of pounds by doing it this way. We told a couple of friends about it, and we started this Skype chat where we had our own virtual trading floor. So essentially, I would say I need 2,000 euros. Someone else said I need pounds, and it worked really well. And we always made the exchange using the mid-market exchange rate. You know the mid-market exchange rate, which gets reported in Financial Times and Bloomberg, but strangely does not exist in any bank. If you ever have a couple hours to spend, try calling your bank and asking them about it. Hours of fun guaranteed. But so we realized that besides us, there are many other people who need this, and we built Transferwise. Initially, we went about it in a kind of very scrappy and lean way. And when we first launched the site, we were surprised to see that the first guy sent us 2,000 pounds 15 minutes after launching. That was a moment of, shit, what are we going to do now? But then we started very keenly listening to what our users are saying, how they're using our service. And we soon learned three things. First was speed, second was cost, and lastly, our customers and fans were really complaining about the banks. We didn't really ask them about it, but we got tons of fan mail or hate mail about banks. So let's talk about speed first. When you go to your bank to make an international payment, you're not really expecting any speed. It takes 3, 4, 5 days, or sometimes up to a week. In the 21st century, in the internet age, that's just way too long to wait. In Transferwise, we get it done in 1 to 2 days, and we've recently showed how we can do it in near real time. So that's the way we're heading. Second is cost. You go to a bank, and say we'll charge you 10 to 20 euros, or maybe even $15 in the US, to make an international payment. But worse than this, they give you a really bad exchange rate, typically 3% off the mid-market rate. What this means in reality, if you're transferring 1,000 euros, you'll pay 50 euros for that. For what? And lastly, when we talk about price, I think we're thinking about this in a diametrically different way. We're thinking about it, how little can we charge to build a global sustainable company, versus the banks think about it, how much can we charge and get away with it. And then the disappointment in banks. I will read you a quote from a user. Here's from Nick. I'm a pensioner currently caring 24/7 from a 100-year-old mother in South Africa. The fees percentages that the banks charge for transferring our modest pensions from UK would easily fund an annual trip to London so that I could see my 2 daughters and 1 grandson. I accept this robbery through gritted teeth because I have no choice. However, 2 weeks ago, for one transfer, they chose an exchange rate so divorced from reality that I blew a gasket. I rang London, and having apologized in advance, I let it fly. My rant included comments as, you may think your customers are idiots, but we are not. You bankers are committing fraud. So there was more, but it wasn't very satisfying because my threats were empty ones. And then, tonight, I discovered Transferwise. Hallelujah. We, the people, can finally stick it to the crooks. Please, Transferwise, start dealing in a South African rand as soon as you can. I long to be your first, your most devoted, your most gleeful South African customer. You give real meaning to the words democracy and freedom, for which I fought many years ago in the British SAS. Feedback like this really moves the whole team. And we get lots of it. Thank you, Nick. We actually launched South Africa recently. I need to give you a call about it. So enough about Transferwise. I think there's a bigger picture which is worth keeping in mind. In the past 15 to 20 years, a lot of industries have gone through dramatic change, starting with aviation and airlines, media and publishing, music industry, telecommunication, and so on. And the changes in these industries mean that as customers, we become used to a few different things now. We're used to much cheaper service, typically an order of magnitude cheaper. We're used to much faster service. We don't want to wait in line anymore, and we expect things to be faster themselves. And we're expecting much more transparency everywhere. We're used to comparing things on comparison sites. We're used to reading reviews online from millions of people. However, there's one industry which seems to be living in a vacuum of its own. That's banking and financial services. There's been very little dramatic change happen in banking over the past 20, 30, 40 years. Maybe the biggest innovation in banking was the launch of credit card and ATM machine. That was 50 years ago. Since then, the best and brightest in banking have been working on obscure products and derivatives and all of that crap, which really doesn't help us as consumers. But 2 things have changed now. The first is trust. Trust used to be protecting banks. But in the past 5 years, trust in banks has gone to an all-time low. And the second is consumer expectations. We as consumers are expecting to get cheaper, faster, and more transparent service from the banks. And the banks need to give in. So I think we're now at a moment of a perfect storm. In the next 5 to 10 years, financial services and banking will be disrupted in a major way. Skype today is a 10-year-old company, and Skype controls 30% of worldwide calling minutes. In the same way, I'm sure that fintech companies will own 30% of financial services in the next 5 to 10 years. And I'll just wrap it up with a few things about Transferwise. So we're about 2 years old, but we're really just getting started now. We're transferring millions of dollars of customers' money on a daily basis, soon to be tens of millions. And we're a team of 50 people, soon growing to 100. That's super exciting. Thank you so much, and have a great day.